Why did you give me your food?
Because someone once saved me, and your eyes were asking without words tonight.
At St. Aurelia Children's Hospital in Manhattan, Ava Brooks had only one sandwich left. It was supposed to be her dinner, her breakfast, and the small proof that she could survive one more night without asking anybody for help. Then she saw the boy. He sat alone near the vending machines in a navy school blazer that looked too expensive for the cold floor beneath him. His tiny hands shook as he tried to count coins. His face was pale, his lips dry, and on his wrist was a green origami crane bracelet that looked strangely familiar. Ava knew hunger when she saw it. She also knew the quiet shame of pretending not to be hungry. So she gave him the sandwich. The boy looked up at her like she had handed him a miracle. "Why did you give me your food?" he whispered. Ava smiled, though her stomach twisted. "Because someone once saved me, and your eyes were asking without words tonight." She did not know his name. She did not know his father owned Park Global, one of the richest hospital technology companies in America. She did not know that cameras were watching. And she certainly did not know that by sunrise, the most powerful Korean CEO in New York would find her sleeping outside the hospital doors, wrapped in a donated coat, with his son's green crane bracelet in her hand. Before we continue, subscribe if you believe one act of kindness can change two broken lives. Stay with Ava and little Leo, because the truth behind that green crane is not what anyone expects. The boy's name was Leo Park. He was 6 years old, the adopted son of Min-Joon Park, the billionaire CEO whose face appeared on business magazines and hospital donor walls. Min-Joon built machines that saved children's lives, yet he had no idea his own child had been left hungry in a hallway while board members argued upstairs. Ava found that out only when a security guard rushed toward her. "Step away from the child," the guard snapped. Ava lifted both hands. He was hungry. "I only gave him food." But the guard saw her old backpack, her worn sneakers, her hospital discharge papers folded in her pocket, and decided her kindness looked like danger. Leo stood in front of her. "She helped me." Nobody listened. Ava was escorted outside into the cold like a criminal. She did not fight. Fighting had never helped poor women win against polished men in suits. She simply returned the boy's smile through the glass doors and pressed her palm to the window. That was when Leo slipped the green crane bracelet off his wrist and dropped it into her hand. "For luck," he mouthed. Ava froze. Years ago, after a secret bone marrow donation, a nurse had placed the same kind of green crane on Ava's hospital bed and said, "The child you helped may never know your name, but he will live." Ava had searched for that child for 2 years. Now the bracelet was warm in her palm. At 5:16 the next morning, Min-Joon Park arrived in a black car with no sleep in his eyes. He had spent the night in an emergency board call after Leo's lab results suddenly worsened. When he saw his son's bracelet missing, panic burned through him. Leo said only one thing, "The lady outside has it." Min-Joon rushed through the lobby doors and stopped. Ava was asleep on a stone bench under the hospital awning, curled around her backpack. Snow dusted the edge of her hair. One hand clutched the green crane bracelet against her chest like it was treasure. For the first time in years, Min-Joon had no command ready. No order. No cold business voice. Only shame. He removed his cashmere coat and covered her. Ava woke instantly, terrified. "I didn't steal it. Your son gave it to me." Min-Joon looked at her face, then at the bracelet, then at the faded scar inside her arm. His voice lowered. "Where did you get that scar?" Ava pulled her sleeve down. "A hospital bed I was never supposed to wake up from." Min-Joon's world tilted. Inside the hospital, Claudia West watched from the second-floor glass bridge. Claudia was Park Global's public relations director, Min-Joon's almost fiancée by arrangement, and the woman who had been managing Leo's medical files. Her perfect red nails tightened around her phone when she saw Ava. Because Claudia knew the name Ava Brooks. And she knew Ava was never supposed to meet Leo. If this story already has your heart, tap like so YouTube knows you want more emotional romance stories like this. Ava gave away her only meal, but the hospital still treated her like she was the threat. Min-Joon brought Ava inside, not as a guest, but as a question he could not ignore. He ordered breakfast for her, but Ava refused to touch it until Leo had eaten first. That small gesture did more damage to Min-Joon than any accusation could have. He watched his son laugh with her. Leo had not laughed like that since his last surgery. Ava did not try to impress anyone. She told Leo silly stories about subway pigeons, folded napkins into cranes, and reminded him to chew slowly. Min-Joon noticed how Leo leaned toward her as if his body recognized safety before his mind understood why. Dr. Noah Bennett, Leo's pediatric surgeon, entered with new test results. His smile faded when he saw Ava. "Ava Brooks?" he asked. She nodded. Noah looked at Min-Joon. "We need to talk somewhere private." Claudia stepped in before they could move. "Absolutely not. This woman was removed by security. We cannot bring unstable strangers near Leo." Ava stood, embarrassed. "I can leave." Leo grabbed her sleeve. "No." That one word stopped every adult in the room. Noah closed the door and opened Leo's file. 2 years ago, Leo survived because of an anonymous marrow donor. The donor disappeared before we could complete follow-up testing. Her records were sealed after a legal complaint. Min-Joon's jaw tightened. "Who filed the complaint?" Noah looked at Claudia. The room changed temperature. Claudia laughed once, too sharp. "I protected the family. We had threats. Scams. People pretending to be connected to Leo." Ava stepped back. "I never asked for money." Noah turned the tablet toward Min-Joon. On the screen was Ava's donor profile, her blood markers, and a photo from 2 years earlier. Around her wrist was a green origami crane bracelet. The same symbol Leo wore. Min-Joon stared at Ava like he was seeing her for the first time. "You saved my son," he said. Ava's eyes filled, but her voice stayed quiet. "I didn't even know his name." The major twist should have brought peace. Instead, it opened a deeper wound. Leo's new condition meant he needed the donor again, and Ava was the only possible match. But Ava was not healthy enough. She had been sleeping outside the hospital because she had spent months paying medical bills after her first donation went wrong. An infection had cost her apartment, her job, and almost her life. When she tried to contact the hospital for help, her letters vanished. Min-Joon turned to Claudia. "You buried them." Claudia's face hardened. "I buried a distraction. You were building a company." Leo needed stability. She was a poor woman with a sad story, and sad stories destroy men like you. Ava flinched, but Min-Joon stepped between them. "No," he said. "Cruel people destroy what kind people save." That night, Min-Joon moved Ava into a private recovery suite. Not a luxury hotel. Not a mansion. A hospital room with warm blankets, clean food, and doctors who finally said her pain mattered. Ava hated needing help. Min-Joon hated that he had become the kind of man who could save strangers through technology but missed the suffering in front of him. They met at the chapel garden after midnight. Snow melted on the glass ceiling. Leo slept upstairs with a nurse nearby. Ava held the green crane bracelet between them. "I don't want your pity," she said. Min-Joon answered, "I don't know how to pity someone braver than me." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Ava whispered, "Your son calls me his lucky lady." "He has better judgment than my board," Min-Joon said. She smiled. It was small, but it changed his whole night. Their closeness did not go unnoticed. Claudia leaked a story to the press claiming a homeless woman had manipulated a sick billionaire child for money. By morning, cameras filled the hospital entrance. Ava saw her face on every phone screen with words that felt like knives. Gold digger. Scam artist. Street woman. Min-Joon wanted to sue everyone. Ava wanted to disappear. Leo watched the news from his hospital bed and began to cry. They're lying about her. Ava held his hand. People can lie loudly. That doesn't make it truth. But Leo's monitor beeped faster. His fever rose. The doctors needed Ava's follow-up donation within 48 hours, but the press scandal had frozen the ethics approval. Claudia had done more than embarrass Ava. She had put Leo's life in danger. And then Dr. Noah found the hidden file. Before the biggest truth comes out, subscribe and stay with us. Because sometimes the person the world humiliates is the person heaven sent to save everyone. Noah discovered an old authorization form from the night of Ava's first donation. It carried 3 signatures, Ava's, a hospital director's, and a witness nobody expected. Min-Joon Park. Min-Joon's mother. Grace had died the year after Leo's transplant, leaving Min-Joon with a company, a child, and a silence he never understood. In her locked archive, Noah found a video message. Min-Joon played it in the family waiting room with Ava beside him. Grace appeared on the screen, tired but elegant. June, if you are watching this, then the truth has come before I found courage. Min-Joon stopped breathing. Grace explained that Leo's adoption had been rushed after his birth mother abandoned him at St. Aurelia. The child was sick, the board feared scandal, and Claudia's father, a major investor, wanted Leo hidden until the adoption looked clean. Grace refused to let the baby become a secret. She searched quietly for a donor and found Ava, a young woman who agreed to help without asking who the child was. Then Grace said the sentence that broke everyone. Ava did not only save Leo's life. She gave me back my son's heart. June, you had become stone after betrayal. I hoped one day you would meet someone whose kindness could reach you. Ava covered her mouth. Min-Joon turned away, but tears slipped down his face. The nuclear twist came seconds later. Grace had left a legal trust in Ava's name. Not payment for her marrow. Protection. Enough to cover her medical care, housing, and education for life. Claudia had hidden it, along with Ava's letters, because the trust would expose everything. Claudia was arrested in the hallway she once ruled. Even then, she tried to wound Ava one last time. He will never love you, Claudia hissed. You are a rescue project. Ava looked at Min-Joon, waiting for shame to appear in his eyes. It did not. Min-Joon took Ava's hand in front of the police, the cameras, the hospital board, and his trembling son. She is not my project, he said. She is the reason my family still exists. But Ava's hardest moment was not the surgery. It was walking back into the cafeteria where everything began. The same guard who had thrown her out stood by the doors with tears in his eyes and an apology in his hands. Ava could have ignored him. She could have let the shame return to him the way it had been thrown at her. Instead, she said, next time, look twice before you decide someone is dangerous. The guard nodded, broken by the mercy he did not deserve. Min-Joon watched from a few feet away. He understood then that Ava's power was not in forgiving quickly. It was in refusing to become cruel just because cruelty had touched her first. The ethics board approved the procedure. Ava was strong enough after emergency treatment, and this time the hospital did everything correctly. Before they wheeled her away, Leo placed the green crane bracelet back around her wrist. Come back, he whispered. Ava kissed his forehead. I already did. The procedure worked. Leo's fever broke 3 days later. Ava woke to find Min-Joon asleep in a chair beside her bed, still wearing the same wrinkled suit. His hand rested near hers but did not touch, as if he was waiting for permission even in sleep. She reached for him. He woke and whispered, "I was afraid to lose you before I knew how to ask you to stay." Ava answered, "Then ask when we're both not attached to machines." Weeks later, Saint Aurelia held a public ceremony. Min-Joon announced the Grace Park Kindness Fund, created to protect anonymous donors, homeless patients, and anyone the system tried to erase. He did not use Ava as a symbol. He let her speak for herself. Ava stepped to the microphone, healed but nervous. Leo stood beside her with a pocket full of green paper cranes. She said, "Kindness is not weakness. Sometimes it is the only thing strong enough to interrupt cruelty." The room stood. Outside, under bright New York morning light, Min-Joon found Ava near the hospital garden. She was folding one last green crane. "I kept thinking I found you because of Leo," he said. "But maybe he found you because I needed to become human again." Ava laughed softly. "That is a lot to put on a 6-year-old. He can handle it. He is very dramatic." Leo ran between them and placed their hands together. "Family walk?" Ava looked at Min-Joon. This was the emotional decision. Not money. Not rescue. Not gratitude. A future. She squeezed his hand. "Family walk." Min-Joon bent and kissed her gently, not like a billionaire claiming a prize, but like a man thanking God for a second chance. The green crane slipped from Ava's fingers and landed on the hospital steps, glowing in the sun. Months later, Ava no longer slept outside Saint Aurelia. She entered through the front doors as Director of Patient Advocacy, with Leo racing beside her and Min-Joon carrying her coffee exactly the way she liked it. The woman they called Nobody had become the voice for everyone. And the boy she fed with her last sandwich grew up knowing love is not proven by power, but by who notices you when you are hungry. Before you go, tell us in the comments, would you have trusted Ava, or judged her like everyone else did? Subscribe for more emotional romance stories where kindness wins, secrets are exposed, and love arrives when life feels impossible.